Bright summer days bring out those bright summer colors. And today we're making Rosewater Lemonade. If you enjoy these soap making videos, be sure to hit the thumbs up button and subscribe if you'd like to see more. And as always, if you want the Rosewater Lemonade cold process soap recipe, you can find it in printable form over on our website at thermalmermaid.com. Now let's get started. This is a simple 4-oil combination that will blend together. Not too fancy. We do have lard and coconut oil in this recipe, so we'll make sure that we melt those first before we blend them into all the other oils. With a cold process bar that has nice bright whites and bright colors, I like to go with oils that are already very light and translucent. This will give us the most out of our color. We'll set the oils aside and pre-prepare our powdered micas. This will allow for them to be nice and smooth when we're ready to use them. Take about 3 tablespoons of your oil combination and place them in 3 separate cups. And on top of each one, you can pop about a teaspoon of each of your colors. Here, we're using Cosmic Caroline, that's the pink color, which will turn a little bit citrusy after it's cured. And then we've got a lake yellow and of course our white, which is titanium dioxide. We'll blend these down until they're perfectly smooth, and then we'll set them aside until we're ready to use. You'll see here that I'm dissolving the titanium dioxide, and sometimes you'll find that people will do this in either oil or water. Be sure to read the package because some titanium dioxide is made to dissolve in oil and other titanium dioxide will disperse well in water. So whether or not you choose water or oil for your recipe will depend on what the package says on your titanium dioxide bag. Now we'll gently add the lye water solution to our oil combination. This lye water had been made several hours ago and it had been set aside to cool, and both liquids are at room temperature. Now we'll take our time blending this with the stick blender. We want to make sure that both the oils and the lye water solution are mixed in so that they're emulsified very well, and the way you can tell is that while I'm mixing this, you'll see a shiny kind of a sheen right on the top of the surface. Well, that means that their oils are still separated from the water, and we need to keep mixing this until you don't see that sheen anymore. It's easier to see in real life when you're doing it, but kind of look off at an angle if you're not too sure. And if you can see that kind of glistening oil slick on top of your liquid, then you need to keep emulsifying it. And don't move on to the next step until this is completely finished. This is the perfect time to add in your fragrance oil, and for this bar we're using Rosewater Lemonade, which is a perfect summertime scent. Now while the batter's still thin, we're going to separate it into 3 equal parts. I'm using 3 pounds of oil in this recipe, so I'm trying to pour it just to about the 16-ounce mark on these measuring cups. Of course, with our water added to the total amount, it should be considerably over 16 ounces. But if we hit the 16-ounce mark, then we know I've pretty much got it into 3 equal parts. Now it's time to color each of our 3 parts of soap batter. Now we already have our colorants ready to go, so it's just as simple as transferring each color into each cup and then mixing it up. Now this is helpful because as we've already made the batter, sometimes we can't always control how fast this will begin to thicken up. And if it does become thick faster than we can work with it, well then we don't want to be spending our time worrying about blending out the colors. So we already have this ready, and we can keep moving along at a nice pace. Now it's time to start pouring into the mold. As you can see, it's still pretty easy to work with, and all in all, I've probably started making this recipe about 25 minutes ago. The trace is remaining nice and easy for us because of the type of oil combinations that we've selected. Had we selected other oil combinations that tend to thicken up faster, then we'd be working with a completely different project. Another thing to take into consideration is which type of fragrance oil that you use. Some fragrance oils are known for accelerating your batter faster than they would if you hadn't used them. And oftentimes you won't know unless you just experiment with the oil itself, but sometimes if you're shopping for fragrance oils, especially at a soap supply store, you can read the notes and they'll give you a little bit of an inclination if that oil has a reputation for accelerating your batter, so you'll know what you're working with. But if you're choosing the Rosewater Lemonade like we're using in this recipe, you should be okay because I've used this fragrance oil many times over the years. It's one of my favorites and it always seems to behave very well in the batter. Once you're done layering all of your soap batter colors, then give it a swirl and give it a little decoration along the top, and you're going to set this aside to dry for about 24 hours. After 24 hours, you're ready to unmold your final product and cut it. It's still pretty soft right now, so this probably would have even been okay if I left it for 2 days. As you can see, the end result is a perfect summertime bar. Now I'll set these aside to cure for 4 to 6 weeks, so we won't be able to use them until then. Remember that pink mica we blended earlier in the video? Well, it was called Cosmic Caroline, and in our final product, you can see that it's sort of a grapefruit orangey pink color. It's a little bit different in the bar of soap than it was when we were just blending it down in our oil. That happens with micas or pigments. Sometimes they tend to morph. Not always, but you'll know when you get a particular color and use it a few times what to expect in the final result. In this case, I tend to use Cosmic Caroline when I'm shooting for a pink citrus color. We have plenty more summertime colorful soap recipes where this came from. So if you enjoyed making this cold process recipe with us, then please like and subscribe and stay tuned for the next project.